Crocodiles. Crocodiles, family Crocodilidae, or true crocodiles, are large semi-aquatic reptiles that live throughout the tropics in Africa, Asia, the Americas and Australia. The term crocodile is sometimes used even more loosely to include all extant members of the order Crocodilia, which includes the alligators and caimans, family Alligatoridae. The gharial and false gharial, family Gavialidae, among other extinct taxa. Although they appear similar, crocodiles, alligators and the gharial belong to separate biological families. The gharial, with its narrow snout, is easier to distinguish, while morphological differences are more difficult to spot in crocodiles and alligators. The most obvious external differences are visible in the head, with crocodiles having narrower and longer heads, with a more V-shaped than a U-shaped snout compared to alligators and caimans. Another obvious trait is that the upper and lower jaws of the crocodiles are the same width, and the teeth in the lower jaw fall along the edge or outside the upper jaw when the mouth is closed. Therefore, all teeth are visible, unlike an alligator, which possesses in the upper jaw small depressions into which the lower teeth fit. Also, when the crocodile's mouth is closed, the large fourth tooth in the lower jaw fits into a constriction in the upper jaw. For hard-to-distinguish specimens, the protruding tooth is the most reliable feature to define the species family. Crocodiles have more webbing on the toes of the hind feet and can better tolerate saltwater due to specialized salt glands for filtering out salt, which are present but non-functioning in alligators. Another trait that separates crocodiles from other crocodilians is their much higher levels of aggression. Crocodile size, morphology, behavior and ecology differ somewhat among species. However, they have many similarities in these areas as well. All crocodiles are semi-aquatic and tend to congregate in freshwater habitats such as rivers, lakes, wetlands and sometimes in brackish water and saltwater. They are carnivorous animals, feeding mostly on vertebrates such as fish, reptiles, birds and mammals, and sometimes on invertebrates such as mollusks and crustaceans, depending on species and age. All crocodiles are tropical species that, unlike alligators, are very sensitive to cold. They separated from other crocodilians during the Eocene epoch, about 55 million years ago. Many species are at the risk of extinction, some being classified as critically endangered. Etymology. The word crocodile comes from the ancient Greek krokodilos, meaning lizard. Used in the phrase ho krokodilos tou potamu, the lizard of the Nile River. There are several variant Greek forms of the word attested, including the later form crocodilos, found cited in many English reference works. In the Koine Greek of Roman times, crocodilos and crocodilos would have been pronounced identically. And either or both may be the source of the Latinized form crocodilus used by the ancient Romans. It has been suggested, but it is not certain, that the word crocodilos or crocodilos is a compound of croci, pebbles, and drylos, worm, although drylos is only attested as a colloquial term for penis. It is ascribed to Herodotus, and supposedly describes the basking habits of the Egyptian crocodile. The form crocodrilus is attested in medieval Latin. It is not clear whether this is a medieval corruption or derives from alternative Greco-Latin forms. Late Greek korkodrios and korkodrilion are attested. A further corrupted form cocodril is found in Old French and was borrowed into Middle English as cocodril. The modern English form crocodile was adapted directly from the classical Latin crocodilus in the 16th century, replacing the earlier form. The use of y in the scientific name crocodilus, and forms derived from it, is a corruption introduced by Laurenti, 1768. Species. A total of 18 extant species have been recognized. Further genetic study is needed for the confirmation of proposed species under the genus Osteolaemus. American crocodile, Crocodilus acutus. Distribution: throughout the Caribbean basin, including many of the Caribbean islands and South Florida. A larger-sized species, with a grayish color and a prominent V-shaped snout, prefers brackish water but also inhabits lower stretches of rivers and true marine environments. This is one of the rare species that exhibits regular seagoing behavior, which explains the great distribution throughout the Caribbean. It is also found in hypersaline lakes such as Lago Enriquillo in the Dominican Republic, which has one of the largest populations of this species. Diet consists mostly of aquatic and terrestrial vertebrates, classified as vulnerable, but certain local populations under greater threat. Hall's New Guinea crocodile, Crocodilus hallei. Distribution: the island of New Guinea, south of the New Guinea highlands. A smaller species that closely resembles and was long classified under the New Guinea crocodile, which it is now considered to be genetically distinct from. It lives south of the mountain barrier that divides the two species ranges. It can be physically distinguished from the New Guinea crocodile by its shorter maxilla and enlarged postcranial elements. Cranial elements can still widely vary within the species, with populations from Lake Murray having much wider heads than those from the Aramia River. Orinoco crocodile, Crocodilus intermedius. Distribution: Colombia and Venezuela. This is a large species with a relatively elongated snout and a pale tan coloration with scattered dark brown markings. Lives primarily in the Orinoco Basin. Despite having a rather narrow snout, preys on a wide variety of vertebrates, including large mammals. It is a critically endangered species. Freshwater crocodile, Crocodilus johnstoni. Distribution: Northern Australia. A smaller species with a narrow and elongated snout. It has light brown coloration with darker bands on body and tail. Lives in rivers with considerable distance from the sea. To avoid confrontations with saltwater crocodiles, feeds mostly on fish and other small vertebrates. Philippine crocodile, Crocodilus mindorensis. Distribution: endemic to the Philippines. This is a relatively small species with a rather broader snout. It has heavy dorsal armor and a golden brown color that darkens as the animal matures. Prefers freshwater habitats and feeds on a variety of small to medium-sized vertebrates. This species is critically endangered and the most severely threatened species of crocodile. Morellet's crocodile, Crocodilus morelleti. Distribution: Atlantic regions of Mexico, Belize and Guatemala. A small to medium-sized crocodile with a rather broad snout. It has a dark grayish-brown color and is found in mostly various freshwater habitats. Feeds on mammals, birds and reptiles. It is listed as least concern. Nile crocodile, Crocodilus niloticus. Distribution: Sub-Saharan Africa. A large and aggressive species with a broad snout, especially in older animals. It has a dark bronze coloration and darkens as the animal matures. Lives in a variety of freshwater habitats but is also found in brackish water. It is an apex predator that is capable of taking a wide array of African vertebrates, including large ungulates and other predators. This species is listed as least concern. New Guinea crocodile, Crocodilus noviguinei. Distribution: the island of New Guinea, north of the New Guinea highlands. A smaller species of crocodile with a gray-brown color and dark brown to black markings on the tail. The young have a narrower V-shaped snout that becomes wider as the animal matures. Prefers freshwater habitats, even though is tolerant to saltwater. In order to avoid competition and predation by the saltwater crocodile, this species feeds on small to mid-sized vertebrates. Mugger crocodile, Crocodilus palustris. Distribution: the Indian subcontinent and surrounding countries. This is a modest-sized crocodile with a very broad snout and an alligator-like appearance. It has dark gray to brown coloration. Enlarged scutes around the neck make it a heavily armored species. Prefers slow-moving rivers, swamps and lakes. It can also be found in coastal swamps but avoids areas populated by saltwater crocodiles. Feeds on a wide array of vertebrates. Saltwater crocodile, Crocodilus porosus. Distribution: throughout Southeast Asia, northern Australia and surrounding waters. The largest living reptile and most aggressive of all crocodiles. It is a big-headed species and has a relatively broad snout, especially when older. The coloration is pale yellow with black stripes when young but dark greenish drab colored as adults. Lives in brackish and marine environments as well as lower stretches of rivers. This species has the greatest distribution of all crocodiles. Tagged specimens showed long-distance marine traveling behavior. It is the apex predator throughout its range and preys on virtually any animal within its reach. It is classified as least concern with several populations under greater risk. Borneo crocodile, Crocodilus rheninus. Distribution: island of Borneo in Southeast Asia. A freshwater species of crocodile that has been considered a synonym of the saltwater crocodile. Cuban crocodile, Crocodilus rhombifer. Distribution: found only in the Zapata swamp and Isle of Youth of Cuba. It is a small but extremely aggressive species of crocodile that prefers freshwater swamps. The coloration is vibrant even as adults and the scales have a pebbled appearance. It is a relatively terrestrial species with agile locomotion on land, and sometimes displays terrestrial hunting. The snout is broad with a thick upper jaw and large teeth. The unique characteristics and fossil record indicates a rather specialized diet in the past, preying on megafauna such as the giant sloth. This species sometimes displays pack hunting behavior, which might have been the key to hunting large species in the past, despite its small size. Today most prey are small to medium-sized vertebrates. It is critically endangered, and the remaining wild population is under threat of hybridization. Siamese crocodile, Crocodilus siamensis. Distribution: Indonesia, Brunei, East Malaysia and southern Indochina. A fairly small crocodile that prefers freshwater habitats. It has a relatively broad snout and olive green to dark green coloration. It feeds on a variety of small to mid-sized vertebrates. Listed as critically endangered, but might be already extinct in the wild. Status is unknown. West African crocodile, Crocodilus suchus. Distribution: Western and Central Africa. Recent studies revealed that this is a distinct species from the larger Nile crocodile. It has a slightly narrower snout and is much smaller compared to its larger cousin. Osborne's dwarf crocodile, Osteolaemus osborni. Distribution: Western Africa. It is the smallest of all living crocodiles. It is a heavily armored species with uniform black coloration in adults, while juveniles have a lighter brown banding. Lives in the tropical forests of Western Africa. Feeds on small vertebrates and large aquatic invertebrates. It is a fairly terrestrial species and exhibits terrestrial hunting, especially at night. Dwarf crocodile, Osteolaemus tetraspis. Distribution: Western Africa. It is the smallest of all living crocodiles. It belongs to its own monotypic genus. However, new studies indicate there might be 2 or even 3 distinct species. It is a heavily armored species with uniform black coloration in adults, while juveniles have a lighter brown banding. Lives in the tropical forests of Western Africa. Feeds on small vertebrates and large aquatic invertebrates. It is a fairly terrestrial species and exhibits terrestrial hunting, especially at night. This species is classified as vulnerable. West African slender-snouted crocodile, Macistops cataphractus. Distribution: Western Africa. A medium-sized species with a narrow and elongated snout. Lives in freshwater habitats within tropical forests of the continent. Feeds mostly on fish but also other small to medium-sized vertebrates. It is a critically endangered species. Central African slender-snouted crocodile, Macistops leptorhynchus. Distribution: Central Africa. A medium-sized species found in watery areas in dense rainforest. Feeds largely on fish. Insufficient conservation data, but was classified as critically endangered when lumped with M. cataphractus, although M. leptorhynchus is doing better in its home range. Characteristics: a crocodile's physical traits allow it to be a successful predator. Its external morphology is a sign of its aquatic and predatory lifestyle. Its streamlined body enables it to swim swiftly. It also tucks its feet to the side while swimming, making it faster by decreasing water resistance. Crocodiles have webbed feet which, though not used to propel them through the water, allow them to make fast turns and sudden moves in the water or initiate swimming. Webbed feet are an advantage in shallow water, where the animals sometimes move around by walking. Crocodiles have a palatal flap, a rigid tissue at the back of the mouth that blocks the entry of water. The palate has a special path from the nostril to the glottis that bypasses the mouth. The nostrils are closed during submergence. Like other archosaurs, crocodilians are diapsid. Although their post-temporal fenestrae are reduced, the walls of the braincase are bony but lack supratemporal and postfrontal bones. Their tongues are not free, but held in place by a membrane that limits movement. As a result, crocodiles are unable to stick out their tongues. Crocodiles have smooth skin on their bellies and sides, while their dorsal surfaces are armored with large osteoderms. The armored skin has scales and is thick and rugged, providing some protection. They are still able to absorb heat through this armor, as a network of small capillaries allows blood through the scales to absorb heat. The osteoderms are highly vascularized and aid in calcium balance, both to neutralize acids while the animal cannot breathe underwater and to provide calcium for eggshell formation. Crocodilian tegument have pores believed to be sensory in function, analogous to the lateral line in fishes. They are particularly seen on their upper and lower jaws. Another possibility is that they are secretory, as they produce an oily substance which appears to flush mud off. Size. Size greatly varies among species, from the dwarf crocodile to the saltwater crocodile. Species of the dwarf crocodile Osteolaemus grow to an adult size of just 1.5 to 1.9 meters, 4.9 to 6.2 feet, whereas the saltwater crocodile can grow to sizes over 6 meters, 20 feet, and weigh over 1,000 kilograms, 2,200 pounds. Several other large species can reach over 5.2 meters, 17 feet, long and weigh over 900 kilograms, 2,000 pounds. Crocodilians show pronounced sexual dimorphism, with males growing much larger and more rapidly than females. Despite their large adult sizes, crocodiles start their lives at around 20 centimeters, 7.9 in, long. The largest species of crocodile is the saltwater crocodile, found in eastern India, northern Australia, throughout Southeast Asia, and in the surrounding waters. The brain volume of 2 adult crocodiles was 5.6 cc for a spectacled caiman and 8.5 cc for a larger Nile crocodile. The largest crocodile ever held in captivity is a saltwater Siamese hybrid named Yai Tai He, meaning big, born the 10th of June 1972, at the Samu Prakarn Crocodile Farm and Zoo, Thailand. This animal measures 6 meters, 20 feet, in length and weighs 1,200 kilograms, 2,600 pounds. The longest crocodile captured alive was Lalong, a saltwater crocodile which was measured at 6.17 meters, 20.2 feet, and weighed at 1,075 kilograms, 2,370 lb, by a National Geographic team in Agusan del Sur Province, Philippines. Teeth. Crocodiles are polyphyodonts. They are able to replace each of their 80 teeth up to 50 times in their 35 to 75-year lifespan. Next to each full-grown tooth, there is a small replacement tooth and an odontogenic stem cell in the dental lamina in standby that can be activated if required. Biology and behavior. Crocodilians are more closely related to birds and dinosaurs than to most animals classified as reptiles, the three families being included in the group Archosaurida, ruling reptiles. Despite their prehistoric look, crocodiles are among the more biologically complex reptiles. Unlike other reptiles, a crocodile has a cerebral cortex and a four-chambered heart. Crocodilians also have the functional equivalent of a diaphragm by incorporating muscles used for aquatic locomotion into respiration. Salt glands are present in the tongues of crocodiles, and they have a pore opening on the surface of the tongue, a trait that separates them from alligators. Salt glands are dysfunctional in alligatoridae. Their function appears to be similar to that of salt glands in marine turtles. Crocodiles do not have sweat glands and release heat through their mouths. They often sleep with their mouths open and may pant like a dog. 4 species of freshwater crocodile climb trees to bask in areas lacking a shoreline. Senses. Crocodiles have acute senses, an evolutionary advantage that makes them successful predators. The eyes, ears and nostrils are located on top of the head, allowing the crocodile to lie low in the water, almost totally submerged and hidden from prey. Vision. Crocodiles have very good night vision and are mostly nocturnal hunters. They use the disadvantage of most prey animals' poor nocturnal vision to their advantage. The light receptors in crocodilians' eyes include cones and numerous rods, so it is assumed all crocodilians can see colors. Crocodiles have vertical slit-shaped pupils, similar to those of domestic cats. One explanation for the evolution of slit pupils is that they exclude light more effectively than a circular pupil, helping to protect the eyes during daylight. On the rear wall of the eye is a tapetum lucidum, which reflects incoming light back onto the retina, thus utilizing the small amount of light available at night to best advantage. In addition to the protection of the upper and lower eyelids, crocodiles have a nictitating membrane, sometimes called a third eyelid, that can be drawn over the eye from the inner corner while the lids are open. The eyeball surface is thus protected under the water while a certain degree of vision is still possible. Olfaction. Crocodilian sense of smell is also very well developed, aiding them to detect prey or animal carcasses that are either on land or in water, from far away. It is possible that crocodiles use olfaction in the egg prior to hatching. Chemoreception in crocodiles is especially interesting because they hunt in both terrestrial and aquatic surroundings. Crocodiles have only one olfactory chamber, and the vomeronasal organ is absent in the adults, indicating all olfactory perception is limited to the olfactory system. Behavioral and olfactometer experiments indicate that crocodiles detect both airborne and water-soluble chemicals and use their olfactory system for hunting. When above water, crocodiles enhance their ability to detect volatile odorants by gular pumping, a rhythmic movement of the floor of the pharynx. Crocodiles close their nostrils when submerged, so olfaction underwater is unlikely. Underwater food detection is presumably gustatory and tactile. Hearing. Crocodiles can hear well. Their tympanic membranes are concealed by flat flaps that may be raised or lowered by muscles. Touch. The touch sensors, concentrated in crocodile skin, can be thicker than those in human fingerprints. Crocodiles can feel the touch on their skin. Cranial. The upper and lower jaws are covered with sensory pits, visible as small Black speckles on the skin, the crocodilian version of the lateral line organs seen in fish and many amphibians, though arising from a completely different origin. These pigmented nodules encase bundles of nerve fibers innervated beneath by branches of the trigeminal nerve. They respond to the slightest disturbance in surface water, detecting vibrations and small pressure changes as small as a single drop. This makes it possible for crocodiles to detect prey, danger and intruders, even in total darkness. These sense organs are known as domed pressure receptors, DPRs. Postcranial. While alligators and caimans have DPRs only on their jaws, crocodiles have similar organs on almost every scale on their bodies. The function of the DPRs on the jaws is clear: to catch prey. But it is still not clear what the function is of the organs on the rest of the body. The receptors flatten when exposed to increased osmotic pressure, such as that experienced when swimming in seawater hyperosmotic to the body fluids. When contact between the integument and the surrounding seawater solution is blocked, crocodiles are found to lose their ability to discriminate salinities. It has been proposed that the flattening of the sensory organ in hyperosmotic seawater is sensed by the animal as touch, but interpreted as chemical information about its surroundings. This might be why in alligators they are absent on the rest of the body. Hunting and diet. Crocodiles are ambush predators, waiting for fish or land animals to come close, then rushing out to attack. Crocodiles mostly eat fish, amphibians, crustaceans, mollusks, birds, reptiles, and mammals, and they occasionally cannibalize smaller crocodiles. What a crocodile eats varies greatly with species, size, and age. From the mostly fish-eating species, like the slender-snouted and freshwater crocodiles, to the larger species like the Nile crocodile and the saltwater crocodile that prey on large mammals, such as buffalo, deer, and wild boar. Diet shows great diversity. Diet is also greatly affected by the size and age of the individual within the same species. All young crocodiles hunt mostly invertebrates and small fish, gradually moving on to larger prey. Being ectothermic, cold-blooded predators, they have a very slow metabolism, so they can survive long periods without food. Despite their appearance of being slow, crocodiles have a very fast strike and are top predators in their environment, and various species have been observed attacking and killing other predators such as sharks and big cats. Crocodiles are also known to be aggressive scavengers who feed upon carrion and steal from other predators. Evidence suggests that crocodiles also feed upon fruits, based on the discovery of seeds in stools and stomachs from many subjects as well as accounts of them feeding. Crocodiles have the most acidic stomach of any vertebrate. They can easily digest bones, hooves, and horns. The BBC TV reported that a Nile crocodile that has lurked a long time underwater to catch prey builds up a large oxygen debt. When it has caught and eaten that prey, it closes its right aortic arch and uses its left aortic arch to flush blood loaded with carbon dioxide from its muscles directly to its stomach. The resulting excess acidity in its blood supply makes it much easier for the stomach lining to secrete more stomach acid to quickly dissolve bulks of swallowed prey flesh and bone. Many large crocodilians swallow stones, called gastroliths or stomach stones, which may act as ballast to balance their bodies or assist in crushing food, similar to grit ingested by birds. Herodotus claimed that Nile crocodiles had a symbiotic relationship with certain birds, such as the Egyptian plover, which enter the crocodile's mouth and pick leeches feeding on the crocodile's blood, with no evidence of this interaction actually occurring in any crocodile species. It is most likely mythical or allegorical fiction. Bite. Since they feed by grabbing and holding onto their prey, they have evolved sharp teeth for piercing and holding onto flesh, and powerful muscles to close the jaws and hold them shut. The teeth are not well suited to tearing flesh off of large prey items, as are the dentition and claws of many mammalian carnivores. The hooked bills and talons of raptorial birds, or the serrated teeth of sharks. However, this is an advantage rather than a disadvantage to the crocodile, since the properties of the teeth allow it to hold onto prey with the least possibility of the prey animal escaping. Cutting teeth, combined with the exceptionally high bite force, would pass through flesh easily enough to leave an escape opportunity for prey. The jaws can bite down with immense force. By far the strongest bite of any animal. The force of a large crocodile's bite is more than 5,000 lbf, 22,000 N, which was measured in a 5.5 meters, 18 feet, Nile crocodile in the field. Comparing to 335 lbf, 1,490 N, for a Rottweiler, 800 lbf, 3,600 N, for a hyena, 2,200 lbf, 9,800 N, for an American alligator. Failed verification, and 4,095 lbf, 18,220 N, for the largest confirmed great white shark. A 5.2 meters, 17 feet, long saltwater crocodile has been confirmed as having the strongest bite force ever recorded for an animal in a laboratory setting. It was able to apply a bite force value of 3,700 lbf, 16,000 N, and thus surpassed the previous record of 2,125 lbf, 9,450 N, made by a 3.9 meters, 13 feet, long American alligator. Taking the measurements of several 5.2 meters, 17 feet crocodiles as reference, the bite forces of 6-meter individuals were estimated at 7,700 lbf, 34,000 N. The study, led by Dr. Gregory M. Erickson, also shed light on the larger, extinct species of crocodilians. Since crocodile anatomy has changed only slightly over the last 80 million years, current data on modern crocodilians can be used to estimate the bite force of extinct species. An 11 to 12 meter, 36 to 39 feet, Deinosuchus would apply a force of 23,100 lbf, 103,000 N. Nearly twice that of the latest, higher bite force estimations of Tyrannosaurus, 12,814 lbf, 57,000 N. The extraordinary bite of crocodilians is a result of their anatomy. The space for the jaw muscle in the skull is very large, which is easily visible from the outside as a bulge at each side. The muscle is so stiff, it is almost as hard as bone to touch, as if it were the continuum of the skull. Another trait is that most of the muscle in a crocodile's jaw is arranged for clamping down. Despite the strong muscles to close the jaw, crocodiles have extremely small and weak muscles to open the jaw. Crocodiles can thus be subdued for study or transport by taping their jaws or holding their jaws shut with large rubber bands cut from automobile inner tubes. Locomotion. Crocodiles can move quickly over short distances, even out of water. The land speed record for a crocodile is 17 km per hour, 11 miles per hour, measured in a galloping Australian freshwater crocodile. Maximum speed varies between species. Some species can gallop, including Cuban crocodiles, Johnston's crocodiles, New Guinea crocodiles, African dwarf crocodiles, and even small Nile crocodiles. The fastest means by which most species can move is a belly run, in which the body moves in a snake-like, sinusoidal fashion. Limbs splayed out to either side, paddling away frantically while the tail whips to and fro. Crocodiles can reach speeds of 10 to 11 km per hour, 6 to 7 miles per hour, when they belly run, and often faster if slipping down muddy riverbanks. When a crocodile walks quickly, it holds its legs in a straighter and more upright position under its body, which is called the high walk. This walk allows a speed of up to 5 km per hour. Crocodiles may possess a homing instinct. In northern Australia, 3 rogue saltwater crocodiles were relocated 400 kilometers (249 miles) by helicopter, but returned to their original locations within 3 weeks, based on data obtained from tracking devices attached to them. Longevity. Measuring crocodile age is unreliable, although several techniques are used to derive a reasonable guess. The most common method is to measure lamellar growth rings in bones and teeth. Each ring corresponds to a change in growth rate which typically occurs once a year between dry and wet seasons. Bearing these inaccuracies in mind, it can be safely said that all crocodile species have an average lifespan of at least 30 to 40 years, and in the case of larger species an average of 60 to 70 years. The oldest crocodiles appear to be the largest species. C. Porosus is estimated to live around 70 years on average, with limited evidence of some individuals exceeding 100 years. In captivity, some individuals are claimed to have lived for over a century. A male crocodile lived to an estimated age of 110 to 115 years in a Russian zoo in Yekaterinburg. Named Kolya, he joined the zoo around 1913 to 1915, fully grown, after touring in an animal show, and lived until 1995. A male freshwater crocodile lived to an estimated age of 120 to 140 years at the Australia Zoo. Known affectionately as Mr. Freshie, he was rescued around 1970 by Bob Irwin and Steve Irwin, after being shot twice by hunters and losing an eye as a result, and lived until 2010. Crocworld Conservation Centre, in Scottsburg, South Africa, claims to have a male Nile crocodile that was born in 1900. Named Henry, the crocodile is said to have lived in Botswana along the Okavango River, according to Centre Director Martin Rodriguez. Social behavior and vocalization. Crocodiles are the most social of reptiles. Even though they do not form social groups, many species congregate in certain sections of rivers, tolerating each other at times of feeding and basking. Most species are not highly territorial, with the exception of the saltwater crocodile, which is a highly territorial and aggressive species. A mature, male saltwater crocodile will not tolerate any other males at any time of the year, but most other species are more flexible. There is a certain form of hierarchy in crocodiles. The largest and heaviest males are at the top, having access to the best basking site, while females are priority during a group feeding of a big kill or carcass. A good example of the hierarchy in crocodiles would be the case of the Nile crocodile. This species clearly displays all of these behaviors. Studies in this area are not thorough, however, and many species are yet to be studied in greater detail. Mugger crocodiles are also known to show toleration in group feedings and tend to congregate in certain areas. However, males of all species are aggressive towards each other during mating season to gain access to females. Crocodiles are also the most vocal of all reptiles, producing a wide variety of sounds during various situations and conditions, depending on species, age, size and sex. Depending on the context, some species can communicate over 20 different messages through vocalizations alone. Some of these vocalizations are made during social communication, especially during territorial displays towards the same sex and courtship with the opposite sex, the common concern being reproduction. Therefore, most conspecific vocalization is made during the breeding season, with the exception being year-round territorial behavior in some species and quarrels during feeding. Crocodiles also produce different distress calls and in aggressive displays to their own kind and other animals, notably other predators during interspecific predatory confrontations over carcasses and terrestrial kills. Specific vocalizations include chirp, when about to hatch. The young make a peeping noise, which encourages the female to excavate the nest. The female then gathers the hatchlings in her mouth and transports them to the water. where they remain in a group for several months, protected by the female distress call. A high-pitched call used mostly by younger animals to alert other crocodiles to imminent danger or an animal being attacked. Threat call. A hissing sound that has also been described as a coughing noise. Hatching call, emitted by a female when breeding to alert other crocodiles that she has laid eggs in her nest. Bellowing. Male crocodiles are especially vociferous. Bellowing choruses occur most often in the spring when breeding groups congregate, but can occur at any time of year. To bellow, males noticeably inflate as they raise the tail and head out of water, slowly waving the tail back and forth. They then puff out the throat and with a closed mouth, begin to vibrate air. Just before bellowing, males project an infrasonic signal at about 10 Hz through the water, which vibrates the ground and nearby objects. These low-frequency vibrations travel great distances through both air and water to advertise the male's presence and are so powerful they result in the waters appearing to dance. Reproduction. Crocodiles lay eggs, which are laid in either holes or mound nests, depending on species. A hole nest is usually excavated in sand and a mound nest is usually constructed out of vegetation. Nesting periods range from a few weeks up to 6 months. Courtship takes place in a series of behavioral interactions that include a variety of snout rubbing and submissive display that can take a long time. Mating always takes place in water, where the pair can be observed mating several times. Females can build or dig several trial nests which appear incomplete and abandoned later. Egg-laying usually takes place at night and about 30 to 40 minutes. Females are highly protective of their nests and young. The eggs are hard-shelled, but translucent at the time of egg-laying. Depending on the species of crocodile, 7 to 95 eggs are laid. Crocodile embryos do not have sex chromosomes, and unlike humans, sex is not determined genetically. Sex is determined by temperature, where at 30 degrees Celsius, 86 degrees Fahrenheit, or less most hatchlings are females, and at 31 degrees Celsius, 88 degrees Fahrenheit, offspring are of both sexes. A temperature of 32 to 33 degrees Celsius, 90 to 91 degrees Fahrenheit, gives mostly males, whereas above 33 degrees Celsius, 91 degrees Fahrenheit, in some species continues to give males, but in other species resulting in females, which are sometimes called high-temperature females. Temperature also affects growth and survival rate of the young, which may explain the sexual dimorphism in crocodiles. The average incubation period is around 80 days, and also is dependent on temperature in species that usually ranges from 65 to 95 days. The eggshell structure is very conservative through evolution, but there are enough changes to tell different species apart by their eggshell microstructure. Scutes may play a role in calcium storage for eggshell formation. At the time of hatching, the young start calling within the eggs. They have an egg tooth at the tip of their snouts, which is developed from the skin, and that helps them pierce out of the shell. Hearing the calls, the female usually excavates the nest and sometimes takes the unhatched eggs in her mouth, slowly rolling the eggs to help the process. The young is usually carried to the water in the mouth. She would then introduce her hatchlings to the water and even feed them. The mother would then take care of her young for over a year before the next mating season. In the absence of the mother crocodile, the father would act in her place to take care of the young. However, even with a sophisticated parental nurturing, young crocodiles have a very high mortality rate due to their vulnerability to predation. A group of hatchlings is called a pod or creche and may be protected for months. Cognition. Crocodiles possess some advanced cognitive abilities. They can observe and use patterns of prey behavior, such as when prey come to the river to drink at the same time each day. Vladimir Dinitz of the University of Tennessee observed that crocodiles used twigs as bait for birds looking for nesting material. They place sticks on their snouts and partly submerge themselves. When the birds swooped in to get the sticks, the crocodiles then catch the birds. Crocodiles only do this in spring nesting seasons of the birds, when there is high demand for sticks to be used for building nests. Vladimir also discovered other similar observations from various scientists, some dating back to the 19th century. Aside from using sticks, crocodiles are also capable of cooperative hunting. Large numbers of crocodiles swim in circles to trap fish and take turns snatching them. In hunting larger prey, crocodiles swarm in, with one holding the prey down as the others rip it apart. According to a 2015 study, crocodiles engage in all three main types of play behavior recorded in animals: locomotor play, play with objects, and social play. Play with objects is reported most often, but locomotor play such as repeatedly sliding down slopes, and social play such as riding on the backs of other crocodiles is also reported. This behavior was exhibited with conspecifics and mammals and is apparently not uncommon, though has been difficult to observe and interpret in the past due to obvious dangers of interacting with large carnivores.